Peacock TV Spoilers has been waiting for Theo Carver to finally snap, and Theo Carver absolutely delivers this week. Over at the DiMera mansion, Theo Carver confronts Rita Leslie, and Theo Carver's not playing games anymore. Theo Carver looks Rita Leslie dead in the eye and threatens Rita Leslie, telling Rita Leslie that if Rita Leslie does not get out of the way, Theo Carver will physically make Rita Leslie get out of the way. Amazing. Can you believe it? Theo Carver has always been such a gentle soul, but seeing Theo Carver channel that fierce, protective Carver energy is incredible. Rita Leslie finally relents, but Rita Leslie immediately runs off to warn EJ DiMera that Theo Carver and Chad DiMera are heading down into the DiMera tunnels. Chad DiMera is hot on the heels of Theo Carver, and together, Chad DiMera and Theo Carver storm straight into the hidden room. Theo Carver calls out for Lexie Carver, and what Theo Carver and Chad DiMera find is going to shatter the hearts of every single viewer. Before Theo Carver and Chad DiMera even arrived at the DiMera mansion, we have to acknowledge the true hero of this situation, Johnny DiMera. Johnny DiMera is the son of EJ DiMera, but Johnny DiMera has a massive crisis of conscience. Johnny DiMera simply cannot stomach the sheer cruelty of EJ DiMera keeping Lexi Carver locked away like a prisoner. Johnny DiMera ultimately decides to betray EJ DiMera and tip off Theo Carver. Johnny DiMera tells Theo Carver exactly where to look, proving that Johnny DiMera has completely rejected the dark, manipulative legacy of EJ DiMera and Stefano DiMera. Johnny DiMera risks the wrath of EJ DiMera to do the right thing for Lexi Carver and Theo Carver, and I absolutely love Johnny DiMera for making that choice. Johnny DiMera is proving that the DiMera bloodline does not have to be entirely evil, and Johnny DiMera deserves a massive round of applause for saving Lexi Carver from dying alone. Theo Carver and Chad DiMera discover Lexi Carver on a makeshift deathbed down in the dark, damp DiMera tunnel. I personally believe this is one of the most twisted, poetic, and tragic full-circle moments in the history of Days of Our Lives. Lexi Carver is dying in the exact same DiMera tunnels where Lexi Carver was originally infected with the toxic substance that caused the fatal brain tumor years ago. That is crazy. Stefano DiMera built those DiMera tunnels to hide the darkest secrets of the DiMera family, holding people like Marlena Evans and John Black hostage down there for months. Now, EJ DiMera is using the exact same DiMera tunnels to hide Lexi Carver as Lexi Carver fades away. EJ DiMera is essentially turning the DiMera tunnels into a dark, cold tomb for Lexi Carver. Theo Carver immediately pulls out a phone and calls Abe Carver. Theo Carver tells Abe Carver exactly what is happening, and Abe Carver rushes over to the DiMera mansion in a sheer panic.
When Abe Carver arrives in the DiMera basement and joins Theo Carver at the side of Lexi Carver, the devastation radiating from Abe Carver is palpable.
Abe Carver has spent decades protecting the citizens of Salem as a police officer and as a mayor, but Abe Carver could not protect Lexi Carver from the sinister grip of EJ DiMera. Abe Carver and Theo Carver make an immediate, desperate decision. Abe Carver and Theo Carver refuse to let Lexi Carver die down in the DiMera tunnel. Abe Carver and Theo Carver quickly move Lexi Carver out of the DiMera mansion and transport Lexi Carver straight to Salem University Hospital so Lexi Carver can have some dignity. Now, it is time for the Peacock TV Spoilers Hot Take section. I want to talk about the absolute audacity of EJ DiMera. If you ask me, EJ DiMera is the most narcissistic, arrogant villain currently walking the streets of Salem. After Abe Carver and Theo Carver get Lexi Carver settled into a comfortable bed at Salem University Hospital, EJ DiMera actually has the nerve to show up at Salem University Hospital to visit Lexi Carver. Can you even fathom the sheer disrespect? EJ DiMera is the reason Lexi Carver was brought back to life using a faulty serum from Dr. Wilhelm Rolf, and EJ DiMera is the reason Lexi Carver was suffering in the DiMera. I passionately defend Abe Carver in this moment, and I ruthlessly criticize EJ DiMera for having a massive god complex that destroys everyone around EJ DiMera. When EJ DiMera walks into that hospital room, Abe Carver completely loses control. Abe Carver does not want EJ DiMera anywhere near Lexi Carver. Abe Carver rages at EJ DiMera, screaming at EJ DiMera to get out of the hospital room immediately. Abe Carver is unleashing years of pent-up hatred toward the DiMera family directly onto EJ DiMera. This reminds me of what Stefano DiMera did back in the day, constantly pushing Abe Carver to the absolute limit until Abe Carver exploded. EJ DiMera is pushing the exact same buttons but EJ DiMera lacks the charm of Stefano DiMera. EJ DiMera just looks cruel, and Abe Carver is entirely justified in kicking EJ DiMera out of Salem University Hospital before EJ DiMera causes any more pain. While Abe Carver is busy planning a memorial for Lexie Carver, Theo Carver is completely falling apart. Theo Carver is devastated over the reality that Theo Carver is going to lose Lexie Carver all over again. Grief does terrible things to a person, and Theo Carver is desperately searching for an emotional anchor. Peacock TV spoilers can confirm that Theo Carver turns to Stephanie Kiriakis for comfort. But here's the kicker. Stephanie Kiriakis is in a highly vulnerable state right now, too. Stephanie Kiriakis just moved out of the apartment Stephanie Kiriakis shared with Alex Kiriakis, meaning the marriage between Stephanie Kiriakis and Alex Kiriakis is essentially over. Stephanie Kiriakis is lonely, hurting, and looking for a distraction. This brings us to some juicy predictive lore. When you put two emotionally shattered people like Theo Carver and Stephanie Kiriakis in the same room, boundaries tend to blur. Theo Carver needs a shoulder to cry on, and Stephanie Kiriakis needs a distraction from the disastrous marriage to Alex Kiriakis. I personally believe this Theo Carver and Stephanie Kiriakis vibe has the potential for massive trouble. Will Theo Carver and Stephanie Kiriakis cross a line? Will Theo Carver and Stephanie Kiriakis end up sharing a messy, grief-fueled kiss? In the internal logic of Salem, shared trauma almost always leads to the bed. If Stephanie Kiriakis sleeps with Theo Carver, Alex Kiriakis is going to lose his mind, and the fallout across Salem will be absolutely spectacular. Meanwhile, we have to talk about Paulina Price. Paulina Price is currently standing by, watching Abe Carver completely unravel over Lexi Carver. Paulina Price wants to be there for Abe Carver, and Paulina Price is trying to support Abe Carver through this unimaginable grief. However, with Lexi Carver on her deathbed, Abe Carver is completely blinded by devastation. Abe Carver cannot see beyond the tragedy of Lexi Carver, which leaves Paulina Price standing on the outside looking in. Paulina Price is a strong, powerful woman, but Paulina Price is currently powerless against the ghost of Lexi Carver. Paulina Price has to watch the husband of Paulina Price weep over another woman, and that has to be tearing Paulina Price apart inside. I think it will be incredibly interesting to see how long it takes Paulina Price and Abe Carver to reunite after Lexi Carver officially transitions and Abe Carver loses Lexi Carver for the final time. Will Paulina Price have the patience to wait for Abe Carver to heal, or will the grief surrounding Lexi Carver create a permanent wall between Abe Carver and Paulina Price? Abe Carver has always viewed Lexi Carver as the ultimate love of his life, and Paulina Price knows that Paulina Price can never truly compete with the legacy of Lexi Carver. Paulina Price is going to have to fight for the marriage of Paulina Price, but Paulina Price might be fighting a losing battle. The emotional stakes in Salem have never been higher, and Peacock TV spoilers will be here to break down every single tear, every single scream, and every single betrayal. What do you guys think about this massive Carver family tragedy? Do you think Theo Carver and Stephanie Kiriakis are going to make a huge mistake and hook up? Drop your hottest takes in the comments below, and do not forget to subscribe to Peacock TV Spoilers for all your daily soap updates.